Hello, everyone. This is Maya Zahira with psychicprotectionsanctuary.com, and we're now live on YouTube. This class is called A Clairvoyance View of Hell. My intention for this class is not for it to be scary, but actually for this information to provide some comfort. So before we go any further, I'm going to take just a moment and do the tech stuff. And I also started about a minute early. So let's get some people in here live. I've got my other device with me so I can keep up with comments. And we'll start momentarily. Welcome, everyone. I think we had mixed feelings about this class. Like, it sounds interesting, but a little bit scary, and we're going to talk about that. Okay. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about, as a clairvoyant, as someone who has psychic sight, what I see about the lower realms. And just want to give a shout out to everybody who's joining us live. Hello there. Let us know where you're joining from. And this is a casual environment. I don't ever edit these. We just get on here and talk and teach. And I love interacting with you guys. So I'm kind of thinking this one is going to be a little bit shorter. Usually I do 90 minutes or longer, but but we'll just see as we get going. I might get a second wind. And we have Lord joining us from Estonia. Welcome, welcome. And we have several others too, so don't be shy. Say hi. That's the benefit of YouTube Live, is that we get to interact with each other. So I'm here in the United States, the American Southwest, in the sacred desert of southern Arizona, and it's beautiful this time of year. It's October 2025 for anybody watching the replay later in the future. Okay, so hello, everyone. We have lots of comments coming in. Yes, it is a great topic. Hi, Carol. Hi, Marco. Hi, Lord. Good to see you all. Yes. So, some of my lessons, I give a lot of information. For this class, I'm going to be giving some information about what I see, but I also want to really have a conversation with all of you and answer your questions. So we're doing it a little bit different than usual. Aura is here from New York. Hello there. Okay, so I want to start off by saying I don't claim to have all of the answers of the universe. Like, I am not the divine creator, and I don't claim to have the absolute truths about everything. But here's the thing. When I get on, I'm wagging my finger, when I get on YouTube, when I get on and do a video and I talk about something, you can be assured that I have a very clear opinion about it. If I haven't talked about it yet, it's because either I'm in an undecided territory, or I don't feel like I don't know enough about something to speak with authority, etc., etc. So that's why, even though there's a bajillion videos on this channel, I haven't spoken on every topic. And that's why. So today, what I share with you is what I truly believe and what I actually see through psychic visions. Okay? So as always, I'm going to need to look at my notes because there's a lot of little details here and there. So I want first to refer to a video that I did a while back I think a couple years ago, actually. And the video is called A Medium's View of the Afterlife. So this is like the other side of the coin. So a medium's view of the afterlife, I talked mostly about the upper realms, about the heavenly realms, whatever you want to call them. And now in this class, I'm talking about the lower realms. Excuse me. I have already posted this video, and there's another one that I'll refer to in a little bit, in the description section. So you can already find the links to the videos in the description. So you can, after this is over, you can go and watch those, and it will help fill in some more details. So I want to give a little bit of history about hell first before we get into what I see. And then I would love to answer your questions and really get into a discussion. So I am not a historian, and I don't claim to be an expert. My main point here, I'm not an expert in religions, or I'm an expert in psychic protection. Like, that is what I know everything about. That's what I know everything about. But I'm not a historian, and I'm not a religious expert, and I'm not an expert in the Bible. But the main point that I want to make, that I think a lot of people don't see. A lot of people, because they've been raised with the concept and the belief about hell, about fiery damnation in this place that's down wherever, down in the earth or down low spiritual, who knows where it is, right? But this belief in this place that you go if you've somehow offended God, and it is fiery, and there's torture, and the devil is there, and demons, and it's just suffering and torture, and it's eternal, and if you're bad, you're going to go there. And there's all this indoctrination about this place. There's a lot of indoctrination in the Christian tradition and also in the Muslim tradition. I can't speak with any authority on the Muslim tradition. I do know that there is a belief in a hell realm, what they call it. I was raised Christian and Catholic, so I can speak with authority over that. And the thing is that a lot of people don't realize is that there's this subconscious belief that the idea of hell has been around forever. Like, if you ask a lot of fundamentalist Christians, like, has hell been around forever? Like, have people always believed in hell? And it's like their brain goes on the fritz. Like, of course it's eternal. It's always been there, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. Here's the little mini history lesson. Pre-Christianity, Jewish times. So right before Christianity hit the scene, the Jewish belief system, they believed in a place called Sheol. Sheol, a shadowy place where all souls went. There was no separating the good from the bad. There was no burning damnation or heaven with harps. It's just everybody went to this shadowy place, and most of the focus was on if you were good, God blessed you during your life. You had riches, or you had a lot of children. There wasn't really much focus on punishment or reward on the other side. So then, in the New Testament, so once we get going with Christianity, in the New Testament, then we start to see beliefs developing in the idea of divine justice. The idea of divine justice. So life wasn't fair on the earth realm, so there was this idea that things aren't fair here, so you'll receive so the justice will happen on the other side. So if you're good, then you'll go to heaven. If you're bad, you'll go to hell. In medieval times, Christianity really embraced the idea of hellfire, demons, and suffering. And also medieval time, life was really rough. And so the belief that if you suffered in this lifetime, you would receive reward in heaven when you die, that gave people a lot of comfort. So let me just check, make sure everything's working here. There we go. And then the religious teachers Augustine and Thomas Aquinas, in their writings and teachings, they really solidified the idea of hell as eternal punishment for sin. Eternal punishment for sin. Okay? So that's an important thing to understand, is that even the belief in hell is pretty new. Okay? So because so many of us were raised and brainwashed and indoctrinated into this idea of hell, it's just really important to understand that this is a fairly new idea in regard to the history of humanity. Like, this belief wasn't around forever. This is new. This is pretty newish. And so that the fact that this is a new belief, fairly new belief, should actually poke some holes in this idea that hell has been around forever and it's an automatic thing. Of course there's a hell. No, not of course. Not of course. Now, let me look at my notes here. Okay, so how do I know about this? What I'm going to tell you, what I'm going to share with you as a clairvoyant, how do I know about these things? So, first of all, when I was young, I had pre-birth memories, so between lifetimes. So that's one thing about me, is I remembered things from the other side. We've got some weird lighting happening today, but that's okay. At least it's not dark. So I had pre-birth memories. And then, as an adult, I've been doing psychic readings and mediumship readings for over 25 years now. And so in those readings, using all my clairs, including clairvoyance, tuning into people's loved ones, tuning into situations. So there have been countless hours of tuning in to the other side. And in doing that client work, either working with clients or even connecting with my own loved ones. I have a friend who passed away recently, and I check on her. How's she doing? And from all of that, that has given me a lot of glimpses of the other side. So just a reminder that I'm not all-knowing. I don't know everything about everything that ever existed. I can't help people find lost items. I'm terrible at that. That's just the truth. But I have a lot of visions of what is going on the other side, and I'm going to tell you about what I see. So one thing to understand is that visions, spiritual visions, can be somewhat symbolic and somewhat literal. So what I'm going to share with you, I've always felt like what I see is, it's like I'm shown things in a certain way because that's what how a human mind could grasp and understand it. Because, for example, on the other side, there is no time. There's no linear time. So it would be very hard for a human mind, like mine or yours, to be able to grasp total timelessness, which feels like eternity, when we're living in a linear reality. So that's one example of how, like, we can't grasp everything, but there are ways that things are shown to me that I don't take it literally, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. But it still helps me understand the construct. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you what I see. Okay. Gotta keep me from coughing. Gotta drink and eat peppermints. Okay. So this is the image that I've been shown over and over again of the afterlife in general. So that's the upper realms and the lower realms. What I'm shown is something very linear. Does that mean that literally there are layers of the afterlife? Like, you go to the 7th floor or whatever, or the 12th floor. It might not be literally you go to these different floors, but that's how I'm shown. Okay, that's how I'm shown with this, how this is organized. So the afterlife, let's say right here is the middle ground. Everything above is the upper realms, what we might call heaven, like the typical afterlife. Most of the people that we know who would pass away would go to these upper realms. And if you haven't already seen my video, A Medium's View of the Afterlife, go watch that right after this, and you'll learn all about the upper realms. Okay, the sun is setting, and we've got some sun shining in, but it'll be down soon. It's shining right in my eye. So now we've got these upper realms. Well, the lower realms are basically a mirror opposite of that. So we have, let's say this is the middle ground, and then we have all these layers of the lower realms. Okay, and so this middle area, opposite of what Christian tradition teaches, where you either go to heaven or you go to hell. It's eternal. What I see is that there is some pass through from the upper levels of the lower realm. There are some who will move up past that middle line of separation between the upper and the lower realms. So let me talk about what happens when someone passes away. When someone passes away, they are going to go naturally to what is a match for their frequency. So if they are kind of an average human being, even kind of flawed, right? We're all flawed. They're going to go to the upper realms, but like the lower rungs of the upper realms. But if they're more of a troubled person, and maybe not like darkly evil, but they're troubled and dark in some ways, then they may go to the first few layers of the lower realms. Okay. Now, is there like fire and torture there? No. But it's also not necessarily pleasant. So like attracts like vibrationally. There's also some instances on the earth plane where opposites attract, and this is why people who have a lot of light will get attacked by dark forces. But today, as we're talking about the afterlife realms, we're going to just focus on the fact that like energies attract like. So when someone passes away, if they're an average, decent human being, then they're going to be in the upper realms. If they're a very, very holy human being, they're going to be even higher in the upper realms. And the higher that you go, the less earthly it is like, the more it is pure frequency, pure vibration. The lower parts of the heavenly realms are going to be people who are playing out things from earthly life, playing sports, running on the beach, hanging out with their loved ones. And then the higher up that they go, the more they're going to be close to divine, sacred, whatever word that you use for that. And it's more and more just pure energy. So this is what I talk about in a medium's view of the afterlife. I talk about the upper realms. In the lower realms, the first couple of layers of the lower realms are a kind of a shadowy place. There are people who are a bit troubled. With some healing, they can rise up a couple of levels and end up in the area that we would call the lower heavenly realms. But most of what I see is that when people are in the lower realms, when souls are in the lower realms, they will tend to keep sinking down lower and lower, because there are troubled souls in these first few layers, and they're kind of playing off of each other and feeding off of each other's pain. And there's also an encouragement to go darker. So as you go deeper down into the lower realms, then it is, we'll say, darker. There could be fire, but not necessarily. And here's what I mean. As you go deeper and deeper into the low, as not you, as a soul, not you, a troubled soul, would go deeper into the lower realms, they will create through their mind, through the soul's mind, through thought, they will create their own self-torture. So this is what I see. God or Creator is not sending them there for eternal damnation. They are choosing a troubled way, or they're choosing darkness, they're choosing evil, or they're stuck, like they're stuck in behaviors, thoughts, beliefs, or they are carrying a lot of guilt and shame, and they are creating their own mental torture chamber. So it's really interesting. I've listened to some near-death experience stories of people who, so there's a lot of them on YouTube, people who have almost died, but they died and then they were revived shortly after. Most people who have NDEs, near-death experiences, have they report positive experiences, but some report hellish experiences. At some point when I'm ready, I am going to do a teaching on what I think about all the NDE stories. And I know you can't wait. I can't wait too, but I want to wait until I have very definitive things to say. And I'm still in a searching mode of like, okay, what do I really see about this and this and this and this? So I'm waiting on that. So you'll have to wait. But about the lower realms and NDEs, people who have these so-called near-death experiences of hellish realms, some of the stories are just so weird. It's like, to me, it matches what I'm seeing, which is that people are creating their own torture. It's like all these weird things are happening, and they're stuck, or they're trapped, or there's these weird beings, and it's different stories with different people. And I really think that it's all created by thought. I think that it's created by thought, by troubled souls. That's what I think. So the deeper you go, the deeper a soul, I want to be careful with my language here, because we're going to talk also about fears about hell, and we'll circle back around to that. The deeper a soul goes, what I see is that there are more non-human souls. There are demons, demonic entities mixed into the mix. There's more and more like deeper levels of evil, and they are further from love, creator energy. Like I said a minute ago, the more likely, so souls in the lower realms are more likely to keep sinking further down than rising up, because like energies because the similar energies are encouraging more evil. They're encouraging more evil. Okay. Let's see. Do you have any questions so far? Hi, Goddess. Good to see you. Good to see you all. Yay. Cool. So since you missed part of it, you'll go back and watch the earlier part later. Awesome. So let's talk about fears. So we all know that many people have been indoctrinated to believe in hell. And so there's a fear of being sent to hell or going to hell if you don't believe in exactly the correct religion, or that, almost the whole world is going to hell except for these select few, which I think is ridiculous. I personally don't believe that a benevolent God creator would send almost all souls to eternal damnation and only a few are saved. Like, how does that even make logical sense? And that's a loving God? No. I mean, I'm not going to tell anyone what to believe. This is just my feeling. Like, that makes no sense. Okay, but let's talk about, since this channel is a lot about psychic protection, psychic attack, black magic, entity issues, and that sort of thing, let's talk about fears that are initiated by psychic attack. Fears of hell that are initiated by psychic attack. Okay? So what I mean by that is that it's a pretty common thing, and I've gone through it as well, to have a dark entity, have an issue with a dark entity, whether it's demonic or something else, that tells you, so it's trying to manipulate and scare. So it tells the person that the person is going to go to hell, or that the entity says that it is going to take the person to hell, or that Satan is going to take the person to hell. And it's a mind game. Okay. So like I said, I've experienced this, and I know several others who have. So I'd be really curious if you're willing to share if you've ever had an issue where you were being manipulated or harassed by a dark entity that was giving you false, because let's be clear, these are false messages to initiate fear, telling you that you're going to be dragged down to hell, or that you're going to be damned to hell. And those are false messages. So let me explain what I've been shown about this through my work. So the question is, can a good, or even, an average, because we're not all saints all the time, right? Can like a regular person, or even a really good person, can a good soul be forced into hell? Can a good soul, or an average soul, be forced down to hell, forced into hell? Because that's what some of these entities try to get a person to believe. And what I've been shown over and over again is that no, it is impossible. And I'm here to tell you the truth. I've shared a lot of things with clients, and I've shared a lot of things with you guys that are sometimes things that you don't want to hear, sometimes things that are uncomfortable. But I'm telling you the truth of what I've been shown over and over again. which is that no, it's impossible for a soul that is average to good to high frequency, any of those higher frequencies, it is impossible for those higher frequencies to exist in the lower frequencies of the lower realms. It is a vibrational mismatch. It can't happen. And even, let's just pretend that even if vibrationally it could occur, that when that soul would be shoved down into those lower realms, their higher frequency would be like fingernails on a chalkboard. It would be like a screeching, horrible frequency to those lower frequency beings. They could not tolerate even a higher frequency soul being in their presence, and they would kick them out. Okay, so this is what I've been shown over and over again, and I truly believe that this is the case. So whenever somebody has asked me, can this entity force me into hell? I'm afraid. And what I'll say over and over again is like, no, it's literally impossible. That entity is lying to you. This is psychological warfare to create fear. Okay. So let's take questions. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about a few more things about the afterlife realms. Celestial Seven Heavens says, why do so many NDE stories see a different description of ascended masters, example, Jesus, are these false light imposters? Yeah, so that is a great question. I think, so we're in October now. Sometime early in 2026, I will do a video that talks about NDEs and false light. I just really want to get clear on exactly what I want to say about it. So hold on, and I will answer that. Are there any other questions? I think in that future video, I will also talk about whether there are people who talk about how the afterlife is a trap, and I'm going to talk about what I see about that. I do think that you can leave. There are people that say that you can't leave. I'll talk about that. So while I'm waiting for any more questions, I want to explain that, I talked about these different layers, the upper realms and the lower realms. What I've been shown in this linear sort of way is that there are 12 layers of the upper realms and 12 of the lower realms, 12 dimensions, 12 layers. This may or may not match with whatever other teachings that are out there, and that's fine. I don't really care, because that's what I'm shown. That's what I see when I look. So when I say that I'm shown, I should probably say it differently. This is what I see when I look. Now, I personally don't astral travel. I don't like to leave my body because it's too much. There are too many hoodlums in the astral realms, and I don't want to worry about leaving my vessel and not knowing what's happening. I want to be present. So I do a form of remote viewing where I stay present in my body, and then I look at wherever, I clairvoyantly look at wherever I'm looking. So this is what I see when I look. When I tune in and I look at the other realm, the afterlife realms, this is what I see. Okay. I am not talking about Satan very much in this. Because that's another topic that I want to. I don't think that what is taught in Christian. I know. I'm going to say I know. I have seen that what is taught about that being in the Christian tradition is not actually accurate. It's a little oversimplified. Um, it's a very charged topic. Um, but when I tune into the lower realms, I do see demons, but I don't see like some like devil dude on a throne. Nor do I see a white guy with long flowing white hair who looks like Zeus on a golden throne in the upper realms. Because all of that is like mythology stuff, right? So what I'm telling you with clarity, I'm telling you the things that I see, what it all means. We can think about and work on interpreting all of it, but this is what I see and what I don't see. And again, to emphasize, in the lower realms, the environment of suffering is actually caused by the minds of the souls inhabiting this space. There was that movie by Robin Williams called What Dreams May Come. And when I saw it when it first came out decades ago, and I liked it. But now that movie makes a lot more sense to me with everything that I've seen in the other realms. What makes sense to me is the fact that the female main character was creating her own hell realm. She was creating her own suffering. And what makes sense to me is that she was able to receive help. In this case, it was her husband going and saving her. She was able to move out of those hell realms. So there was not a divine creator, like, you get down there, like forcing her down there. There was no like demon or Satan dude with red skin, like making her stay there. It was her own personal hell that she was creating with her inner suffering. And that's what I see. That's what I see in the lower realms. Not just internal suffering like she was suffering from, like deep grief and sadness and feelings of guilt and all of that. But there are also a lot of people who are, really attached to darkness and evil. There's a lot of that too. Also, when I talk about these different levels, I want to re-emphasize that I believe that I see those linear kinds of levels because that is the best way for my human mind to understand that there are these sections or levels. But does that mean that there are literally levels, like you take the elevator up to the 10th floor or whatever? I don't think that it's literally that. I think I'm seeing levels because that represents levels of frequency, different levels of frequency. And another thing that I see is that in each of those levels, there are like these pocket dimensions, these areas that are, I'm going to call them kingdoms, these various kingdoms, communities of souls. And it's different depending on what frequency level they are existing at. But, different soul families, different groupings of souls together, having these different experiences. And the lower parts of the upper realms that are more earthly looking, like they're reliving things that seem like earth, like in those spiritual realms, having experiences that are like eating food, that are like visiting physical places like nature and beautiful buildings and things like that. in those realms, there are it's like these different kingdoms with these beautiful buildings, beautiful architecture, but it's all made of energy. And then, like I said before, as you go higher and higher up to the higher realms, there's no need for any of that because it's just all frequency. So there's nothing that even looks like physicality. It's just frequency. It's just souls are just pure energy way up here. But further down in the lower parts of the afterlife, the lower parts of the upper realms, they will still take on the appearance of their human self. Does that make sense? Sometimes it's hard to describe all of these spiritual things in human language. So do we have any other questions? I want to emphasize one thing. I truly, truly, truly believe that prayers help souls on the other side. I truly believe this. I was raised Catholic. I stepped out of the Catholic box like 3 decades ago, long time ago. But one of the things in the Catholic tradition is that they pray for the dead. And there's this belief that your prayers will assist that soul in releasing any pain. Well, in the Catholic tradition, releasing any sin. I don't really believe in sin in that sense. But what I see over and over again is that souls who are struggling when they first pass, when they are the recipient of prayers from those who are living, it acts as healing frequencies, as healing for that soul. And so it will help to push them up a couple of levels, a level or two, so that they can have a better experience in the afterlife. And there are people that I know who passed away a few years ago, and I still pray for them every single day. When I say prayers for different people, I specifically also pray for these people who have passed away, and I truly believe that that helps them. Yeah. So do we have any questions or any thoughts as we go? I think everybody's being pretty quiet today. I think I've shared what I'm going to share. While I'm waiting to see if you guys have any thoughts, I have a couple of announcements. Let's talk about next month's class, if I can find it. I've got the notes here right in a few pages. Where is it? Maybe I don't. Maybe I missed it. Okay, I can do it from memory. Next month's class is about how a lot of our thoughts and feelings are not our own. They are coming from other sources, from negative spiritual sources. So that should be a really interesting one. We're going to even cover psychological spiritual warfare, but also we're going to talk about how some people experience a forced Kundalini awakening by negative spiritual forces, so that those forces can feed off of the energy. So like overall, whether it's a spiritual experience or mental or emotional, a lot of our feelings, a lot of our experiences are not caused from ourselves, but from outer sources that are negative. So we're going to be talking about that next time. And I can't remember if I mentioned the second video, because I was talking about how some people are afraid that when there's an entity that's messing with them and the entity is saying that it's going to force that person to go to hell. I don't think that I mentioned that there are 2 videos that might be of interest to you. And these videos are also in the description that you can watch right after watching this. And though the video is Can Someone Sell Their Soul to the Devil? Part 1 and Part 2. Can someone sell their soul to the devil? Part 1 and Part 2. So you'll be able to find those. They're already in the description of the description section of this video. So thank you to everybody who joined live. Sometimes when there aren't as many comments, I wonder if the comments are not working, because that has happened to me before. So I apologize if I missed any of your comments. And then those of you who are watching the replay, just sending a shout out to you and thank you for watching. And I would love for you to share your thoughts, questions, stories. And I do get on Facebook, sorry, not Facebook, but YouTube, at least a couple times a week. And you'll notice that I do like and comment on many of your comments. So definitely share your thoughts on this and any of the other videos. And sometimes if there's a question that really piques my interest, I will get on my device and I will record a special Ask Maya segment, and I'll answer your question specifically in a brand new mini lesson, like a 10 or 15 minute. I'll get on my soapbox and talk about it. So thank you so much for being here. And I appreciate the words of thanks that you guys are all sending. Awesome. So that's fine. We're going to end early today. I was a little bit tired as I was getting ready for this class. I had kind of a different kind of day today. It was different than expected. So I'm going to just chillax after this. But as always, I just want to say, I really appreciate all of you. I appreciate that all of us are truth seekers and we're wanting to look beyond and question what the standard beliefs are. And whatever you personally believe, I hope that in watching this video and any of the other videos on my channel, I hope that it gives you food for thought so that you can either develop new ideas or become even more assured in your own beliefs. Either way, I really think that blind belief without questioning is belief that is weak. So the more that you can question and evaluate, the deeper your beliefs will become. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a truth seeker. And a reminder, have you read the newest book, Revealing the False Light Agenda? Have you read it? If not, you should get it because it is a really good book and you can read it in like literally a couple of days and it's going to blow your mind. And it really is the best way for you to learn and understand about false light entities and the false light agenda. Because me just talking to you about it for 5 minutes isn't really sufficient. Like, you really need to read all the stories and go through what I went through secondhand through reading the stories. And then I think you'll get a better understanding. So next month is all about how your thoughts and your feelings are often not coming from you. And remember to mark your calendar. Our YouTube Live is the first Tuesday of the month. It is still going to be 5:30 Pacific in November, but the time is going to shift a little bit in December. So just, I'll give you reminders for that and you can change your calendar accordingly. Thank you so much. And Celestial Seven Heavens, your YouTube handle is perfect for today's class topic. So go watch the videos that are in the description. A medium's view of the afterlife. I think you'll find that really interesting. And can someone sell their soul to the devil? Thank you so much, everybody. And I will see you. I'll be posting more videos this month. I'll see you on YouTube. Have a great evening.